Was your proposal true to your spouse's energy type? How does knowing your spouse's energy type make your relationship better? Today's video is going to give you a lot of ahas. Joining me today are the DYT experts, Jaleah, who is our type 1 expert, and our type 2 expert, Sarah, type 3 expert, and Kalista, type 4 expert. So was your type 4 husband's proposal true to his type?
Oh, my poor type 4 husband. I kind of stole it from him. So he had planned this amazing Golden Gate Bridge, propose at the lookout, maybe with some flowers, some sparkling cider. Like he had it like really nicely thought out because he has grandparents that live in San Francisco, so we were going to go visit them. And I created the ring, and we had like
You knew it was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. We were getting married. I knew he was going to propose. And I was like, just give it to me when you get it, okay? I don't want to wait. I don't want any surprises. Just give it to me. So we're in the airport, and I know he has the ring because obviously he'll probably propose to me then. I was like, just go ahead and give it to me.
Like in the moment, in the airport where you're like,
as we're going through TSA and stuff, I was like, you don't have to do anything fancy. So we're sitting in this little waiting area, and then he like pulls out the ring and he's like, will you marry me? And we're both just sitting on the couch, like there was no like getting on your knees and stuff. And
He didn't want to draw attention to himself.
yeah, he was like, we're in this airport. I think we're gonna get married. I'm like, yes. So I loved it because the whole time in the airplane, I'd be like, just looking at my ring, like, we're engaged. And then
Which you happened to forget today, but that's okay.
I never wear my ring anymore. I was a dental assistant, and I don't like wearing it with gloves, so then I just got out of the habit. So I kind of stole it from him being his type. It became more mine, where it was just like spur of the moment, random happening, But it was fun. And in the airport, we go through that airport lots. We'd love to travel. So every time we pass by a little proposal spot, it's always a fun reminder where we got proposed to.
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
that made it better. We hardly ever go to the Golden Gate Bridge lookout, So,
Yeah.
so that made it more personal.
Uh-huh.
It was good.
So I'm a type 2 married to a type 3, and true to his type 3 nature, it was big. It was a big production. So it was my birthday weekend, and he told me he was picking me up for a birthday surprise. So he picked me up, and he blindfolded me. I didn't know where we were going. I heard him on the phone with some coat. I was Silver Fox. I've got Silver Fox in the car.
Oh, jeez.
We were headed down.
Funny.
We got to the location, and it was a studio, a film set. And so I was like, okay, something probably has to do with this. And as we've shared before, his sister, Anna Kay, who's our makeup expert, she does wardrobe and makeup for films. His mom's been a producer. Brother-in-law does production and set location. So all the family is in film. So we went there, and he took me straight to visit with Anna Kay, who's going to do my makeup. And she had selected a lot of different clothes, and so I chose what I was going to wear. And I had this like fancy chair I was sitting in. They hand me the script. And like, hey, review your lines because you're going to be on set. So the location was like a Parisian cafe because he says he wanted to take me to Paris to propose to me there, but this was the next best thing. So he said,
Where were you getting suspicious?
Yeah, I mean, by that point, like the whole script was like, and I have a present for you, ... So at that point, I was like, okay, so I just went for it.
Because you're the one I could never keep secrets from.
I know, right?
Never. You would always figure it out.
Yeah.
Find
and
it
I think
or
I
whatever.
definitely knew it was just like, maybe, I don't know. So his whole family was there. There was a real director there. He had invited his friends. His friend had like a mustache and was painting. Like,
Cute.
so the
Were
storyline.
they really filming it?
Yeah, we have it all on
there
tape.
you go.
I know.
You have a record of
Yep.
it.
So basically the storyline was I was a student in Paris, and he was on travel, and his sister had set us up. And he knew it was my birthday, and so he had a gift for me. So then at that point, we like filmed it all, and then at that point everyone left, and then he proposed to me. So definitely type 3 in that it was just very big, like over the top. And I'm the type 2. I don't mind attention being drawn to me, especially like around my birthday. I like to be made a big deal about because I think type 2s, we can feel like underappreciated or whatever. And so I enjoy that. Some type 2s might have felt like, oh, this is a lot of attention. I think the fact that when the moment came down to it, like everyone was gone, and then they came back and it was like, oh, our family's here and we get to celebrate together. I don't often like tell the story just because it is like such a big production, so sometimes I'm a little embarrassed by that it was so like over the top, but I love that it was so true to his nature, and I just like went with it and appreciated it. He was super nervous, and I just I'm just going to go with this, and did all the acting and just really enjoyed the experience.
It's a great memory.
Yeah, and we have it on tape, so.
Show your kids. It's
Yeah.
fun. Have they watched it?
No, it's kind of slow and boring, but it's a memory that we have. And I still have the outfit that I wore on set, so that's
cool.
fun.
Well, my husband's a type 2, and me being a type 3, I was excited about what he chose and planned out for our engagement. He planned to go geocache hiking, and he got a guide to take us out, and this guide had a beautiful lunch. It was lovely cheeses and grapes and chicken, and there was sparkling cider, and so we went hiking, and then they laid out this beautiful blanket and laid out all the picnic, and then the guy just left, and so we were there just hanging out. We were in southern Utah, so we went hiking in the beautiful red rocks, and so I'm an outdoors girl, so I loved that, but it was really thought out, perfect for type 2. And then after we had finished our picnic, he took off his sweatshirt, and he had this shirt that said, "I've been waiting for a girl like you," which was so cute. And then he got down on one knee and proposed. And it was funny because he was actually really good at big elaborate dates when we were dating. And so I wasn't sure if this was another big elaborate date or if
He
this
would put a lot of thought, remember?
into our dates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would even tell
A lot
me
of
his
details.
plans.
Yes. He would plan really fun stuff. And so I wasn't sure if it was just a fun date or if it was that. And then by the time he took off his sweatshirt, I was like, oh my gosh. So it was a lot of fun and perfect for both of our types. So
So my husband is a type 1, and me being a type 4, you might think I'd be embarrassed around a lot of people, but this time, actually, I was really comfortable. So the first weekend we had spent time together, he had gotten injured, and I took care of him and helped him with his hand and everything. So he was betting that I would do that again in his plan. So we're making dinner with all of our friends at their apartment because he was really good friends. We had mutual friends, and so they were roommates. So we're there, we're making tacos, and I'm cooking the taco meat, and he's over at the counter cutting up tomatoes, and suddenly I hear everyone gasp, and he's like, oh, and I turn around, and there's blood dripping down his arm, and everyone's like, oh no, what happened? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we're supposed to go on a road trip tomorrow. We're gonna have to go to the doctor, and what we're gonna do. All this is going through my mind, all these logistical things. And so I say, open your hand, and so he opens his hand, and there's blood dripping out, and I scoop this thing out of the way so I can see his hand, and I'm holding it off to the side, and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy, and they're like, can't you see it? Can't you see it? I'm like, no, actually, there's no cut. You stinker. You played a trick on me. And I throw this thing in the sink, and everyone gasps, and he runs to the sink, and I'm just smacking him saying, you little stinker, this wasn't funny. I thought you were really hurt. And he turns around, he's like, didn't you see this? And it was the wedding ring. And I'm like, oh, and I scream, and I jump on him, and then he gets down and says, will you marry me? And I've said, of course. And then everyone is around, there's probably 10 other people there snapping pictures, and everyone's laughing and excited. And I was so oblivious to everyone else in that room. It was just laser focus on him and only him. And it wasn't until everything calmed down that I was like, oh, there are a million people in here taking pictures. But it was fine because they were all good friends, and I was happy in the moment, and everything was just, very euphoric and very fun. But so it was very true to his type. I wouldn't say it was exactly true to my type, necessarily.
Not at all.
I have never heard an engagement story quite like that before.
No, it was the
Did he have
proposal
a flower
prank.
on his blazer and scorching the face after?
No, but it was fine.
I love it. That's totally
If we had been maybe in a mall or somewhere really public and he had done something like that, I think it would have been more uncomfortable for me. But because they were our friends and it was in a small space, I think it made it so it was less uncomfortable for me. If he had done it somewhere really public, I think I would have been.
And it makes for a good story.
Yeah, and it was just really fun. So very, very true to type 1. It was playful and it was social.
My husband was very true to his type 2. He served a church service mission for 2 years in Taiwan. And while he was in that, obviously wasn't dating or anything, he wrote his proposal based on how he thought he would be feeling at the time.
He was very type 2 in the future and
Super long.
connecting that. Yeah.
And how his feelings would be, and wrote it out and put it in a journal. And so he had thought this all through several years before it actually presented itself. So on the date at night, we're in his apartment reading. He just wants me to read his missionary journal, which...
Doesn't everybody want to do
There's
that?
a giant volume. Free reading.
So how many pages am I reading? So, those days you used to go along, you'd be like, okay, I really think this is cool. Till you just suddenly came, and this was his secondary one, which was like randomly come upon this little envelope with the proposal link. Open that up, see what's in it. So I'm reading it, and it's a proposal.
Was it direct, or did it take you a minute to be like, oh, that's what this is?
Well, I knew that we were going to get engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Probably that day.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Waiting for
you
it.
in a way is like,
Get
really?
it over with. Just get it
We're
to
going to
me.
read your journal now? Could we get on with what we're doing today? So once that, it was like, okay. And I didn't have that point of reference to understand him being a type 2, how that was so meaningful for him and how much he had put his thought and feelings into it, so I can really appreciate that now. I mean, we obviously still have it.
How has energy profiling, Dressing Your Truth, supported you in being able to communicate to him what's the best way to support
Well, my
you?
tip is that knowing he responds to a physical connection, if I really want to be heard, just reaching out and, putting my hand on his shoulder, just making that connection with him, he will hear me. I'll be heard more clearly. What about you?
Well, for me, they always say opposites attract, and I'm a type 1 and he's a type 4, which is very opposite. And we attracted and we got married. But how do you get along with someone that's your opposite, right? So just learning about Dressing Your Truth and the profiling system and knowing how he reacts and what he thinks and what he feels and how I think and feel has made the biggest difference. I mean, we still have to keep working on our communication, but knowing what he prefers and what I prefer has been a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Dressing Your Truth, energy profiling has been so supportive in me as a type 2 woman, married to a type 3 man, and being able to speak up. As a type 3, my husband's very passionate about his ideas. He's very well thought out. He just has a very clear directive of what he thinks and where he wants to move. And I used to think like, oh, he's so sure, like, I'll just stand by. And I've learned, though, to ask questions is supportive to him and to me so that he can gather the details that maybe he hasn't because he's been moving so quickly. I can get the reassurance I need. And so being able to know that my voice is valued in asking those questions or having a conversation about it. And the Rewarding Communication course, which we offer as a part of our lifestyle membership, has been supportive for me to go through and actually get real phrases that you outline to be able to have those words then to voice in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Sarah?
So my husband and I obviously have a different sense of urgency. Him being a type 2 and me being a type 3, I'll want to get things done really quick, get going. And, maybe for him, he wants to sit and relax after dinner, not do the dishes right away and different things. And so I feel like knowing our types has really helped in those situations. And we often ask each other, especially when we have projects or things we're working on, how can I support you is a phrase that we use a lot in our house. And that helps with those different senses of urgency. When I have a lot of things on my plate, I need to get some things done. He can ask me that and support me. And, when he's stressed about things, I can support him and ask him how I can support him in those things. So it's been really helpful.
So like Jaleah said, those opposites attract. My husband being a type 1, he's really good at open, flexible, spontaneous, adaptive movements. And his life works best if it's spontaneous and he can just kind of fly by the seat of his pants. But as a type 4, I have a more defined, structured way of moving through life. And we've kind of naturally done this. And we learned energy profiling when we were early married. And so we've had that benefit of knowing that as we've developed we've been married for 14 years now. So it's been such a blessing for us to know that there are times when that open, flexible movement is the appropriate thing. And there's times when that structured, defined movement is the appropriate thing. And we know when those times are, and he'll naturally lead out when it's a spontaneous moment, and I'll naturally lead out when it's a planned, structured moment. And that creates so much harmony for us in our relationship because I'm not saying, what's the plan for this? And he's like, I don't know yet. And he's not saying, why do you have to be so structured all the time? Because we know when it's appropriate. There are times for open flexibility and there are times for structured definition. And it helps us move so quickly and easily and smoothly through all those transitions and moments. And it's such a blessing.
Energy profiling is as you've said, a game changer in your relationship. A good next step is to read my book, It's Just My Nature, which will be so insightful. You and
Read it on your second date.
That's right, like they did.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure that I knew who he was.
Knew what you were getting into.
What I was going to.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Super cute.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I remember we came home and you were on our living room couch and you had this book and you were both reading it.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, okay,
Tanner
Mark.
couldn't avoid it because his mom and sisters came to a Dressing Your Truth event, and that's how I got introduced to him. So he'd been hearing your voice for a lot of years.
That's true. That's true.
And I think it's interesting, like, you can look back on these scenarios if you're still trying to figure out your husband's type, your type. Carol calls it a clue bomb. What are you showing to yourself that is your type? I mean, to look at this play out and be like, oh my gosh, that's so obvious. What are some other areas where they can be looking
it's
for
just
those
again
clues?
you need to keep the broad scope of things to just say how this movement is, just in how you spoke of the different qualities in how you approach things in your movement, where it's spontaneous, adaptive, random versus defined, structured, how you move. It's truly about how you move through life. So make sure you keep the lens wide and looking at it rather than trying to profile every little thing. What's the overall movement? But the book really teaches you that, gives you a really great understanding of these 4 movements in the energy profiling system. So it's fun to hear your stories and know how true to type that each of your spouses were in their proposals. How has knowing yours and your partner's energy types been supportive in your relationship? Share in a comment. Did you like this video? For more supportive resources, sign up for my weekly newsletter below. I want to continue to support you in living your truth.